All right, so my name is Juan Roldan. I work with the City of Covington Police Department, and I've been asked to speak to y'all this evening about pick up and drop off for the students at the new Covington Middle School. All right, so first off, I'm gonna start by telling y'all that this is new to everybody, so there's gonna be growing pains. All right, it's probably gonna take a couple of weeks before things start flowing. So I know there's a lot of anxiety on behalf of faculty, parents, students on how this is going to work. So we want to try to work with everybody and make this as seamless as possible. All right. That being said, this here's a drawing of the new Covington Middle School. Okay. Everyone that's most people are familiar with the area, all right? So this here is going to be concerning the morning drop-off, okay? So in the mornings, all the streets surrounding the school will be open for traffic with the exception of South Lexington Avenue, okay? South Lexington Avenue will be closed through traffic during pickup and drop-off, all right? So all traffic coming in onto South Lexington for drop-off has to come southbound, meaning towards Food Line, okay, on Lexington. All right. So in the mornings, for parents dropping off students, they will pull up on South Lexington in front of the school, drop off their student, their child, and proceed onwards. And it should be a pretty smooth flow. All right. This plan was put in place with the sole purpose for the safety of students. And the best way to do that was to have positive control of an area. And that area is South Lexington. So by shutting it down completely in the mornings and afternoons, we, law enforcement and the school faculty, we control that area. So the only vehicles that are going to be from Oak Street to Chestnut will be parents either dropping off their child or picking up their child. All right. So getting back to this, here at Chestnut and here at Oak, the streets will be blocked off with signage. You will have law enforcement at both of those intersections, guiding vehicles on where to go. All right. So mornings, drop off, pull into the area, drop your student, and continue on your way. For school buses, the morning's going to be the easiest because they're just dropping off and moving. All right, so this here's a diagram showing the school buses pulling into the traffic circle. Should not be an issue in the mornings. They're going to pull up, let the kids off, 3-4 minutes, they're on their way. All right. And here's right now for you, Lexington will be closed to northbound traffic, meaning Chestnut Street going towards downtown, closed to through traffic during these times. Car riders will be allowed to be dropped off in front of the school on Lexington Avenue, and officers will monitor traffic and redirect if streets begin to back up. Afternoon pickup, same diagram. The key difference here is in the afternoons, when parents are picking up their children after school's dismissed, they'll be using both lanes of traffic on Lexington. And they'll be able to line up on both sides. They'll be able to line up on the southbound side as well as the northbound side. All right? So the plan here is we did some measuring. And just a rough estimate, we can fit 35 cars from Chestnut to Oak Street. Double that for each lane of traffic to 70 vehicles. Now, we do not have an exact amount of car riders, but if it's somewhere in that ballpark, 70 to 100, we should be able to accommodate them pretty well. Now, we'll have to come up with, we're working on an alternate plan if there's overflow, where to direct those vehicles. But for right now, Lexington Avenue in the afternoon, you have both lanes of traffic that can accommodate 35 vehicles in each lane. Again, you're closed down at Chestnut and Oak. The big thing here in the afternoons is you're going to have one dismissal time or one release time for those parents. So that's important for the parents to listen to and understand. When they pull into this traffic lane and they're waiting for the student, all the students are going to be released. They're going to be loaded up in their vehicles, and then the officer will open up the lane of travel for the parents going home at one time. So it's not like in the morning where a parent can pull up, drop off the kid, and keep going. In the afternoon, they are there for that 8-10 minutes. And the reason for that is because of the traffic on Chestnut and Lexington. All right, so we have to work with what we have at Covington. This is a unique situation because we don't have in Covington at the middle school. You don't have its own campus. The footprint that you have is what you have to work with. So since you don't have a dedicated area, we had to create one for those hours. All right. So remember, in the afternoons, parents are going to pick up their student. They're in those lanes and they're stuck there for the duration until they're released. All right. School buses. Again, afternoon is different because now they're stacking up. In the morning, they're pulling in, dropping off, and they're leaving. So here on Oak Street, we can accommodate up to 12 buses. Okay? Let me go over. Let me go back here. So there's a couple different things that we had looked at. And originally, we were looking at the buses coming in waves. But now the potential is there that these buses might come, 8 or 10 or 12 at a time. We can accommodate up to 12 buses here on Oak Street. 2 in that space from the stop sign to the opening of the parking area. 4 in the traffic circle in front of the gym. Another 2 in front of that area. And then 3 more down here alongside Burton Field. I'll just go over this real quick. Lexington will be closed. Car rider parents will be staged in both lanes of traffic. Can get up to 70 vehicles. School administration will determine the release of students. If you notice, I have not discussed anything about times. That's up to the school to decide. We're just here for the protection of the students during pickup and drop off and how we're going to direct traffic. Car riders will be released at the same time. Officer will monitor traffic and redirect if streets begin to back up. Buses will come in 2 waves. Late parents will be directed to Chestnut Street parking lot for pickup. This is tentative, all right? So this last part is tentative. That is not set in stone, all right? That part of this plan is in flux. We're still working on that, all right? So here goes the picture with the 12 buses for the afternoon, all right? So you got 4 in the traffic loop, 3 in front of that, 2 at the stop sign, and 3 down by Burton Walking Field. The key thing here to remember in regards to the safety of the students, everything here is on the right-hand side. They don't have to cross the street. So when these buses pull in and the students have to, when they're dismissing, they have to board the buses. They don't have to go across any streets to get to the buses. All right? It's sidewalk straight through, and here is a quasi-sidewalk. It's, gravel or whatever it is. I believe there was discussions about, maybe at some point getting that blacktopped so it'd be an actual sidewalk. But anyway, that's what you got, okay? Again, 12 buses can stack up on Oak Street at one time. So once these things are finalized and we're getting close to that time and information can be released to the public, this is the thing that we need to stress, okay? Everything in red is off limits to the parents. Picking up, dropping off limits. Down here is faculty parking, Chestnut faculty parking, and this is visitor and handicap parking. But that's visitors during the school day, not after school. So we're going to run into the problem of parents wanting to come on Oak Street and park in those areas. You are not allowed to park in these areas. It's as simple as that. It's not going to be a discussion. all right? The only area to park is in green. And if you notice, it is a 600-foot span on Lexington. All right? That's it. So in the mornings, you must come southbound on Lexington. There will be signage up, approaching, telling you that if you are not dropping off a student, you must turn right onto Oak Street. All right? We're going to have, for the first couple of weeks, we're going to have people come there holding up traffic. That we're going to have to back them out, get them the right way. Not a problem. We're expecting that. But come month number 2, it's probably going to be an issue. All right? So that's for the arrival time. Remember, all the red. No-go. Green. Afternoon. Pretty much the same thing. With the exception of, now you have 2 green lanes. So in the morning, it's only 1. The reason being in the morning we only have 1 is because the parents are pulling in and leaving continuously. We don't want to put 2 lanes of traffic in the morning and chance a student coming out of that vehicle across the street, coming across, talking on the phone, doing your makeup, whatever it is you do in the morning, and hit one of these kids. That's why we lock down that street. So in the afternoon, that's why they're being released at one time as well. In the afternoon, you got both lanes open, both of those are green. And again, safety of the students, that's why you're being released at one time. Everybody's in the car, we make sure everybody's in the car, open up the lane of travel, everybody go. So when it comes to public information, releasing this information, using media and other school methods to get information out to the public, radio, social media, local media, and this is how we're going to push this information out to the parents. We've got about 5 weeks, just shy of 5 weeks before school starts. So there's a couple things that we're working in conjunction with the school system to nail down times and things of that nature. Once that's finalized, we'll work together with their media people and get this information pushed out. The big thing is, again, there's going to be growing pains. So we have to work together, take the good with the bad. Parents are going to be upset at law enforcement and faculty. Faculty's going to get frustrated with us and parents. Give it a couple weeks, a month, and things should get moving pretty smooth. So, any questions?
The visuals were very helpful, and I think if we could print some of those and give them to the students on orientation day, I can't guarantee they'll give them to their parents, but especially for the no parking zones where you can park the flow, that may be helpful when they come in to do on-site orientation.
And if we remind them, the best way to avoid this mess is to let your kids ride a school bus.
Yeah.
Well, that's not my place to say,
And it's free.
right? But I can assure you, that's why I said about month number 1 or 2, it'll be different. Look, I'm gonna tell you guys, those days of the parents showing up 2-3 hours early and sitting around, that's gone.
Good, good.
Gone. You can't do it now. There's nowhere to go. So you're gonna have to show up at a specific time. You might have that 15-minute window. So if you want to sit there 15 minutes, I guess that's gonna be on you. But 2-3 hours is not gonna happen. If you show up, we're shoving you out. You gotta go. You can't sit. The 100% you can't sit on the public street because it's not going to be closed until school's getting ready to be dismissed. And if they try to sit in the surrounding area, I know this area, there's going to be phone calls, suspicious vehicles, what's going on, and sitting around. So we're not going to tolerate it. It's going to be, it's going to cause a problem. Honestly, what's going to happen is it's going to cause a problem with dismissals. So that the main thing is we want to avoid that. So just keep that in mind too. You know, showing up 2 hours early, an hour early, 30 minutes early is not going to be, it's not going to work. So, but yes, ma'am.
So how are you going to identify the parent car? Just by the fact that there's a student in it?
Good question. So we had discussed this previously, where there might be potentially 2 waves of dismissal, right? But regardless, what we were thinking of, and I forgot who brought the idea up, but the idea was brought up about using the new school logo, putting it on cover stop. So we were looking at just regular cover stop, you know, if it was 2 waves like green and blue, let's just say for argument's sake. So that first release would have a green card, and that second wave would have a blue card. So essentially, when you're pulling up to that blocked off area, we're gonna have the signage up saying street closed other than student drop off. As the vehicles are approaching, which is why I'm saying that first couple of weeks is gonna be hectic. As the vehicle's approaching, when we see that 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper sitting on the dash of the vehicle, we're gonna know, okay, there's a student in that vehicle. And as they're approaching that intersection, we'll be able to see it visually. It's just like reading that 3-inch by 4-inch inspection sticker driving by at 40 miles an hour. As the car's approaching, slowing down, we'll see that placard or that colored paper in the window. All right, and that's how we know there's a student in the vehicle. And if we don't see that colored paper in the window, you're going to be directed to turn right onto Oak Street. Now you're going to have the parents say, "I left my paper at home," things along that nature, and we're just going to have to work that out. Probably they'll get a break here and there to start with, but like I said, month number 2, go home and get your placard, come on back. Trust me, if you do that one time, they'll probably learn their lesson after that.
Well, I mean, they can stop somewhere a couple of blocks from the school.
Absolutely,
if
but
the child can walk.
yes, but the problem with that is, again, the safety of the student. The whole purpose of doing this is to bring that student into a restricted area for their safety, so they are being let off on the sidewalk and walking straight into the school. Now the parent has to let them off 2 blocks away to walk. I mean, that's not the
City
most...
kids walk from home. I mean, they walk to school now. But I had a couple more. One was, you know, there's digital signs you see on the highway that says during this hour and this hour. Do we want to put some advertising up there that people see before the drop-off and pickup times, so they'll be informed, and flashing lights and all that?
So that was discussed as well in a meeting that we had. And I believe part of that, and I'll refer that question to Mr. Tyree, this way I don't misspeak.
Part of the issues with that is power supply for the signs to the city. And you know, solar will get you some of those types of signage, but not the ones as robust as getting messages always for a long time. And except for the big traffic ones that we really don't have room for around the site because of the amount of cars that park there for the housing and stuff that's close by. But we discussed a bunch of different options, and we came up with a relatively decent signage plan that we thought was acceptable to the school and to the Public Works and Police Department there locally. And we'll be working to get that implemented to help people know that parking is restricted in these areas during certain hours, and that there will be different traffic situations going on. So we've talked about that in pretty good detail. I don't want to burden it down with every detail about it, but I think we've got a pretty good solid plan working with our partners.
And I think as long as the public knows, I mean, I've watched it at Jeter Watson where there's only one way in and one way out, and they learned the system of where to park and what time you come through. They learned that system, and here you have 4 ways in and 4 ways out. I think that, you know, you guys have done a great job of coming up with what the plan will be. It'll just be getting the citizens, and even people who don't live here, to be able to know before they get stuck in there.
Yes, so I've said this to the school faculty a bunch of times, right? You train these individuals. We're creatures of habit. And I explained to them that when I go eat lunch at the Double C, I sit in the same seat at the same table for the last 10, 12 years.
They made me move one time
Right.
because I was in your
When
seat.
I go to the store at Walmart, I typically park in the same general area. So if you start thinking about yourselves as human beings, we're creatures of habit. So going along with that, it's our job, together, collectively, to train these people. All right? If you start letting them get away with these little things at the onset, it's going to stay that way. So the way that we come out the gate with this, since this is a new school campus, and doubling the amount of students, doubling the amount of people come to the area, potentially doubling the amount of, well, actually probably tripling the amount of parents that are dropping off students as compared to currently. If we don't do a good job of training them now, it's gonna be a problem going forward, which is why I said you've got that little area of grace period and before we start enforcing certain things. Because if we don't teach them, they won't learn, they're gonna do whatever they want. And like you said, 4 different ways in and out. They're gonna wanna stop on Lexington, they're gonna wanna stop on Chestnut. I already know, because you see it now. They're gonna come across Chestnut, they're gonna stop right there when the light's red, tell the kid to get out. But we've already had a plan with the officer at that intersection. They're gonna go up to the vehicle, get back in the car. Get back in the vehicle, you have to drive around like everyone else, go on to Lexington. That's for the safety of the student, right?
But the city kids that walk can still walk to school.
Absolutely, 100%. So if you have a student that's walking to school, it's business as usual, okay? If you are a parent that is new to Covington Middle School, coming from the county into the city of Covington, you're gonna have to learn to navigate the roads, whether it's coming off of exit 14, coming down Durant Road, or whether it's coming Madison. You're probably gonna get into a bottleneck there, to tell you the truth. All right, because right now at Covington High School, or last year at Covington High School, with the limited amount of students you had in the school and the very limited amount of vehicle traffic going to the school, you always had that bottleneck in the morning right there at Chestnut at the underpass. So you can only imagine what it would be now if we didn't do what we could to deter that. So if you walk into school, it's business as usual. You will have an officer at Chestnut Street, an officer at Oak Street, and hopefully some faculty helping to direct students to get into school so they're not hanging out there and talking and wasting time. So once we get them out the car safely, someone else got to get them to school. So hopefully we can all work together and get that going smoothly so everyone gets to school on time, safely, and they can learn. Any other questions?
Thank you. More questions? Thank you, Lieutenant Roldan.
Thanks.